Stormclaw is the most fun and fastest build for the Druid currently. It's relatively strong, can clear Torment 12, is amazing at farming, possibly being the best at farming even. It's easy to play and a pleasure to look at least for me. All that bzzzt and lightning strikes everywhere. You're teleporting yourself to enemies all the time. You start to lose control. You're too fast. You're too furious. And suddenly it's over. You crash into an on-death effect. But it's a risk I am willing to take. So you should as well. Not even 150% DR are going to save you. If you want to become speed, stick around. I will explain to you the mechanics of the skill tree, Paragon Board choices, and how to progress with this build to Torment 12. Now, let's go over the mechanics. First, Spirit Sustain. We're going to utilize two things. First up, I have Spirit Regeneration just on my boots. That's enough to sustain you through single target encounters. You can alternatively go with Gift of Stack. I wanted the additional DR to try it out. I think it's better to provide yourself with just armor on your boots instead, or all resistances. All resistances are also really, really good. Or you can activate both, and then you never have to think about your sustain with your lightning strike again, because once you go to an enemy, you actually recover. If we take out the Spirit Boon and activate our Omni Strike, we are still sustaining our spirit. Why is that? Because we are using the Ring of Starless Skies, reducing our resource cost by 50%. Alternatively to this one, you can utilize a ring with a lot of resource cost reduction. This one has 25. So I'm going to equip this one and run up to an enemy. And you are roughly sustaining with just the 25 spirit. Now, if you put on your Gift of Stack for 10 spirit per second and the resource generation as well as resource cost reduction on your ring, you're basically positive on your spirit. So you can attack enemies constantly and still regenerate. So that's the requirement. You don't need the Ring of Starless Skies. It's just not necessary for the spirit to function. You can do it without it. Now, what alternative do you have for your aspect? There's the Archdruid one for 55% critical strike damage to close enemies, which we basically always are with those two. Or you can use a Dirge of Aridef with the combination of Thunder Gods, but Thunder Gods is an extremely rare ring. This one is an RNG drop from bosses, from lair bosses, from any piece of content in the game, but it's not necessary at all. You can use Earthen Bulwark to generate your resolve as well. So at most I would recommend the Dirge and Archdruid. In the plan I will have no unique build to provide you with an entrance point into Torment 1, but that's basically the spirit. Now what about cooldown? Your Grizzly Rage has a lengthy cooldown. If we use Grizzly Rage, you're going to see sometimes the cooldown decreases. It's going to tick down even on a single target encounter, as you can see here. See? It's jumping down. That is because of the Spirit Boon down here, Calm Before the Storm. In combination with Calamity, we're going to increase the skill duration to 30 seconds. And with Calm Before the Storm at 70 seconds, you can basically 100% sustain your Grizzly Rage with enough attack speed and a little bit of lucky hit chance, which we get through the Air of Perdition. That's our only source in combination with our Paragon Board. But before that, you're going to struggle a little bit. And if you're going to jump from enemy pack to enemy pack, you're not 100% attacking through the whole uptime. So you're going to not sustain your Grizzly Rage during pack encounters. For harder encounters, yes. Jumping around, especially when you're farming tier 10, it's not necessary at all. You can just play without Grizzly Rage. You don't need that additional damage. Now to solve this, instead of Air of Perdition, you can also use a Harlequin's Crest. This will reduce the cooldown of Grizzly Rage by a substantial amount. Or you can use any helmet with cooldown reduction, as well as willpower, maximum life, and armor. For the aspect, I'm going to recommend to you the anger management aspect, because as you can see with all the spirit we are sustaining, we are always positive at nearly 100%. So we are above 50% resource. So we deal the increased damage and we gain berserking. Currently on my build, I don't have room for this. So for berserking, I have been utilizing the masochistic keystone. This one also provides you with 10% increased damage or more multiplier for berserking, which is higher than the 10% here. We basically have 100% uptime on berserking. There is another possibility. You can use Shred with berserking, but I found the additional healing much more convenient, especially for chip damage. You don't have 100% uptime on your barrier. That's just not possible, especially when enemies are going to hit you. So you have to have it on your bar to have an additional source of pressing that button to provide you with barrier. Next, we're going to talk about resolve. As you can see on my gear, I have 12 resolve stacks here. I also have 2 additional here and 8 through innately having resolve stacks. This provides us with 35 resolve stacks times 4, which comes down to 140% damage reduction. We combine this one with debilitating toxin, so we poison everything like a good corporation. How do we poison enemies? That's another defensive layer. We have the possibility through the Paragon Board with Constricting Tendrils, lucky hit chance, so we basically always poison enemies. And we have another one, through Berserking Hall, we always poison targets. I really like this upgrade because it guarantees that even if I drive by enemies with one shot, I always apply the poison. I always get the additional damage and the additional damage reduction. So it's not just luck. If I jump into a pack and there is enemies that are going to survive, I want them to be poisoned immediately and not have to rely on a lucky hit chance. It's fine for regular content and it's fine for sustain, especially in the downtime of your Blood Hall. Next up, how do we sustain our resolve? There's two possibilities. The first one is going to be Treven Bulwark. Currently, I have it on Earthen Bulwark, restores 15% of our barrier to have a little bit more defense. Since I have the Thunder God's Blessing, and this one applies our resolve stacks immediately without much issue. But before that, you have to use Earthen Bulwark with Treven Bulwark to get additional stacks through this one. We can just use the skill, or we are going to use the combination of Cirque. So every 5 casts of our skill, we get 1 Earthen Bulwark, which has a second duration of 3 and a cooldown of 3. So every 3 seconds, we restore 3 resolve stacks. Once our enemy hits us, we are going to decrease our resolve stacks by 1. So it's going to take a little bit of time to actually get the resolve stacking going. Next up, how do we apply vulnerable? We have vulnerable here. Storm skills apply vulnerable. So every time we hit an enemy with our storm skills, we apply vulnerable. Very easy. Solves the issue. We can put this one onto our amulet to get another free slot here. If you get another free slot here, you can get the Shifter's Aspect for an 80% increase to our bonuses, which in this case would provide us with additional 20% attack speed. Now, what does this mean? We actually, with this aspect, cap our attack speed without the ferocity stacks right here through Overload. Now, your Lightning Storm is snapshotting your attack speed. So if you have lower attack speed, like for example right now, I have 57%. I turn on my lightning strikes and the procs are relatively fast, but not super fast. I now have 77 attack speed. And once I press my lightning storm, you will see the strikes are much faster. So those snapshot. So you want to enter combat and then use your lightning storm afterwards. So you actually benefit from the additional attack speed. You have to turn it off and on again, just like a device in regular life. Then we have our channeling skill. Why are we using something like this? We are not channeling. Lightning Storm, while turned on, is still providing us with the 66 or 70, up to 70% increased damage. More multiplier. Because it's still counting as a channeled spell. Fortify, we generate Fortify through just our Earthen Bulwark, 7% per second. As for the power, we also stack it through Earthen Bulwark. We get 4 stacks. We can upkeep those very easily just by attacking a target. Next up, let's go over the Spirit Boons. Gift to stack provides you with additional spirit, so you don't have basically any spirit issues at all, even throughout the leveling process if you have a little bit on your gear, in combination with a little bit of resource generation and resource cost reduction. But you can alternatively, at lower stacks of your resolve, also pick up awareness, which provides you with 50% reduced damage from elites. Since we have so much DR, we are basically not using this one. Then we have Avian Wrath. It's always worth it to pick this one. Crit strike damage, even at 30%, that's more multiplier. It's just too good. However, at the very, very early game, swooping attacks is better. Then for our boons, if you're struggling with Spirit, Energize, otherwise Calamity for uptime on your ultimate. And early on, if you want more attack speed, especially on your Lightning Storm, provide yourself with Overload. Later on, if you have enough crit strike chance, you can go with Masochistic and get Berserking through that. Calm before the Storm to reduce your cooldowns. Next up, the Mercs. I have Subo with the Opening Fire upgrade for Cover Fire, for crit strike damage, map pack, as well as movement speed. For here, we're going to use Shield Charge for additional fortifying of my maximum life when I'm crowd controlled. So I get a little bit additional fortify recovery. Now on the skill tree, we max out Lightning Storm with damage bonus as well as movement speed. We don't stack ferocity, so this one's better. Werewolf and Hero of the Storm. This allows us to toggle this one at level 34, I think, or 32. Before that, you can use Omnibolt or Supercell, both are fine. With Storm Shred and the additional attack speed here. If you're struggling with Spirit, pick up the Spirit Note. And Healing. I really like the Sustain. I wouldn't recommend Berserking, especially with the lower duration, but you can actually pick it if you are struggling with Berserking uptime. Which you shouldn't, because you have Bloodhole with Berserking, which grants you Berserking for 5 seconds after using it. So you would have Berserking up anyway, at least half the time. With all the combinations, that's fine. Especially since you're running around between enemy packs. Then you have Healing for Sustain and Unstoppable for Unstoppable. Earthen Bulwark with Fortify to provide us with Fortify. And Overpower stacking, especially powerful early. You have resource cost reduction, versatile, and you have reconstruction if you are stacking resolve through the ring. If not, early on, pick up Trevine Bulwark. Then we have Cyclone Armor. We max this one because of the additional bonus resistances. Bonus resistances work on all elemental damage and additional physical damage, so it's the most powerful defensive stat. In combination with your armor and barrier and life, it's going to pop a lot. Then you have Greater Cyclone for more bonuses and resistances for even more bonuses. Your resistance is capped at 90%, so you have to be careful. You go to your stat sheet, then right here, you check your stats. I have 75, 79, so that's the highest I have. I still have room to boost my resistances a little bit to get the 90% damage reduction for this. Armor also doesn't cap, but it has diminishing returns. So currently we are looking at a 93% average, 94% average damage reduction on all of our damage types. We still get one shot sometimes because of ground effects. They deal like 1,000,000 damage, so it's impossible to not die. You have to have actual immunity to this. Since we are a melee build, this will happen sometimes. And the last one is going to be our ultimate. We have Grizzly Rage with Fortify. We grant 100% Fortify at the start of the battle with Grizzly Rage and then sustain it with our Earthen Bulwark. We pick up the cooldown reduction node here for Grizzly Rage, so it's actually much lower, 14 seconds. And Cornered Beast with Weber Duration. Now this one is only possible to be used with the Ifes Dire Totem. Before that we can also use Grizzly Rage, but we have to pick Avatar of Nature. With Avatar of Nature, once we pop our Grizzly Rage, we still can use all our spells except for Blood. Now once you have 100% uptime, you're also going to see Berserk is applied for Grizzly Rage. If you get to the 100% uptime, you still are attack speed capped and you get 10% damage here. So this one is still better. Next up the Paragon Board, we're going to look at this one really quickly. First board is Fang and Claw. Then we pick up Thunderstruck and path all the way around here. We are going to pick up the glyph here at the end. We get Earth and Sky, Lust for Carnage for Spirit Recovery. Then Constricting Tendrils with the Keeper glyph. Then we path to the next board, which is going to be the Heightened Menace one. We pick up Spirit here, and then we go to Dominate. Early on, the board will look a little bit different. You're going to path straight to the Spirit node, right here. Then this one, Lust for Carnage, right here. Then you path all the way here, but you're going to flip the board. So you're going to path through here and pick up Constricting Tendrils. The same is going to apply for this one. You're going to flip the board and path through here to pick up Heightened Menace. And at the end, we're going to pick up Dominate. Why do it like this and not like this? Because it's very point intensive. Once you have enough points, you're going to flip around those two boards and not path through here, through the 3 points, but through here to get the Earth and Sky node. You want to avoid the middle section of this tree because crowd-controlled enemies and damage resistant, which we have no use for. So those points are wasted and it's better to just path around like this. So that's the Paragon Board. Next up, let's have a look at the gear. For helmet, we have the Air of Perdition with crit strike damage maxed. You want to have life on this one, not armor. I made a mistake. It's transfigured now, so I cannot change it. You have the Harlequin Crest, same here, life on this one, not armor. If you require additional cooldown reduction. Alternatively, if you don't have both, you're going to use the Anger Management node if you can sustain the resource drain. It's going to provide you with berserking all the time and 20% damage. The stats on your helmet are going to be willpower, armor, life, and resistances on the legendary. For our chest, we want defenses. We have willpower, maximum life, resistances, and armor instead of the resistance node here. Then on our gloves, we have willpower, attack speed, crit strike chance, and crit strike damage. You want to max out the crit strike damage here. Alternatively, you can use Dark Hole and back into Debilitating Raw. But even with gloves like this one, you can see I don't have those equipped despite the shred ranks and lightning damage multiplier here. That's because the unique is a low roll and it doesn't have crit strike damage here, which is a massive amount of damage, like an absolutely massive more damage multiplier. Then on our pants, again, willpower, maximum life, armor, all resistance. Now on your chest and on your pants, you're going to apply to defensive aspects, debilitating toxins on our chest or on our pants. And the same is true for primal causes for more damage reduction per resolve stack. So you're going to increase your maximum resolve stacks with those two. Just reroll until you have 12. Alternatively, you can exchange one of them depending on your current life pool for maximum life. So you would only have 22 resolve stacks, which results in 88% damage reduction, but you would have more life. So around 30k life, which is a safer alternative. Then you have your boots. You want willpower, maximum life, as well as spirit regeneration, this one, at least one, and movement speed as much as possible. We're going to utilize the overcharge aspect here. On our gloves, we're going to utilize the channeling aspect, as mentioned before. Then we have our weapon weapon damage, willpower, maximum life, crit strike damage, and crit strike chance. You want to have as much crit strike chance as possible. Same for the totem. Both of them are important. And to solve your crit strike chance, we're going to also utilize the Gar runes in our helmet. For the gems here, lightning damage. It's a more damage multiplier. Now on your totem, look for a high damage roll on your aspect. Then with at least two, best case 3 stats to look for a unique. It's just nearly impossible to get the perfect rolls on this one, especially not with greater affixes because of the trash modifiers still being here, like life from kill. So you have to find something that's going to be an ancestral item and provide you with the best stats you can possibly have here. In this case, for me, it's just crit strike chance tempered on this. Then Ring of Starless Skies. Early on, you want the ring with resource generation, maximum life. It's not important, that's a transfigured stat, but resource cost reduction, crit strike damage, willpower, or crit strike chance instead of what you have here. Same for the second ring, but instead you want to use a dirge. Same stats here. Willpower, crit strike chance, crit strike damage, cooldown reduction. You want to temper cooldown reduction on this one to reduce the cooldown of your Grizzly Rage. And on your amulet, willpower, crit strike chance, vulnerable damage, and crit strike damage. This one has basically the perfect stats already. I just want them to be greater affixes instead. We're going to use the Fortify aspect here. You want to use the highest more damage multiplier you can find on the amulet. You get a 50% boost. So when you look at this one, you would get 33%. So this one would be 99%, which is a little bit better. But I just found this one and imprinted it. But I would need to switch those two around. Just use the highest one that you can find on your amulet of those two. Lastly, we look at the talismans. Grab as many shape-shifting skill nodes as possible. I have a few here. I have werewolf skills. And I have nothing here. Just haven't found despite playing a lot. Then I have Dirge here instead of the ring because I have Thunder Gods here. But before that, you can use Godslayer Crown, 40%, or Fist of Fate, also around 50% here. So there is a few alternatives that provide you with additional damage here instead of this one. With a charm slot, I lucked out and got one with cooldown reduction, but crit strike chance, for example, can also be fine. Then you can exchange one of your tempers on your other gear, on your sword or your totem to be provided with the extra missing stats you have. Now to sums up the build guide, you can find the planner on the Mobalytics page. Down below is the link. You can also check out my other guides for the Sorcerer. I'm going to cook up a few more builds. For example, a pulverized build I'm looking for. If it's good, I'm going to publish this. I only publish good builds. So if I run into trouble with a build and it's not going to push tier 12, I just don't publish it. I had tried multiple builds in the past, just so you know. For example, a lot of fire builds on my Sorcerer. They just didn't perform, so I didn't publish them. So if you have any questions, comment down below, leave a like, leave a sub, and see you next time. Bye.